Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome back to our Intelligent Document Processing Digital Summit. My name's Sally, Head of Online Events for SSON, and I'm delighted to be hosting this session today. So before the break, we looked at implementation of IDP, along with ACOM and ADM. We're now zooming into inspiration, so looking at 3 use cases where IDP is having a massive impact. Before I hand over to our speaker, just a couple of quick housekeeping notices. We want to make this session as interactive as possible for you, our audience. So please do pop your questions into the Q&A box to the left-hand side of your screen, and we'll get to as many of those as possible. So it's really your chance to ask the experts. There's also a bio on the right of your screen with the LinkedIn of our speaker, Christian, so you can connect to them on LinkedIn and then speak to him further about IDP. And finally, there's our resource center. So we have included some additional resources related to the presentation. There's a case study on taking input to a new level with the cognitive classifier, another case study on insiders' work with BASF and how they automate their global P2P process in the cloud. And Christian's kindly provided a copy of the slides. So please, you can download them there. So who is our speaker this morning? Christian Bokelmann. He holds a master's degree in industrial engineering from the University of Karlsruhe, Germany, so right near me. His focus has always been business process optimization and automation. And in 2004, he joined Insiders Technologies, where he is now, and where he focuses on sales, building VAR and integration partnerships, as well as developing the customer base of Insiders. His dedication is bringing latest AI-based products to companies of all industries, and he's a regular speaker at SSON, so we're delighted to welcome him back. I'm going to hand over to you, Christian, to lead us in our presentation.
Thank you very much, Sally. Good morning, good afternoon to everyone listening. Afternoon right here. I'm located in Munich, so I'm delivering the presentation out of Munich. 4 in the afternoon, and looking at the agenda, you already had one session. This is the second session, the inspiration station. And I'm happy to be given the opportunity to talk about the 3 use cases where IDP, intelligent document processing, is having a massive impact. When we talked about that presentation and prepared for it, the first question that came to my mind is, what does having a massive impact really mean? Because IDP usually always has a heavy impact on organization, on processes, in terms of digitalization and in terms of automation. So what does massive impact really mean? To answer that question, we have a saying within Insiders that is, we want to reach the next level. And the next level really always is the next level. So we are not satisfied with where we are today. We always look into the future and think of what can we do better. So what does it mean? What does next level really mean? There's a couple of attributes that we thought of might be quite fitting to next level. Next level obviously means new, something new. Could also be something improved, because it's not always really doing something new. Just improve the things that you already do could mean reaching a next level. Innovation plays a major part in the next level game. So always look for innovative ideas, innovative solutions, innovative technologies. And by implementing that, you can do things different from how you have done them before. Next level could also mean revolutionary or, quite simple, changed. So when I'm going to present the 3 use cases, we always need to keep in mind that we're talking about next level and these attributes. Something is different, something has changed, technology has improved, there was an innovation, and with the innovation, something very revolutionary is happening, something that we never thought would be possible before. But still the question is, why do we need next level? What's the reason why we need to improve, why we want to advance, why we need to change things, why we need to optimize things? The reason is quite simple, because the next level is always needed when your current solution creates the problem for the future. And there is many things that we do today that we've talked about in the past, that we've presented at SSON, and that we've implemented at our customers that work pretty well. And still, if you want to advance to the future, the current solution might be the problem for the future because it's not capable of doing what you want to do. So you need to reach the next level of your solution in order to avoid the problem in the future that might be created. Again, what could that mean now? Answers, just examples before I jump into the use cases. Let's think of software. Everybody in the past was used to implement software on-site, in the data center, on hardware, with servers and operational systems, databases, all that. And then there was a new release, and the new release means implement the new release. That was typically a smaller or even a bigger project called release update. Sometimes the release update needed to be done out of technical reasons, like update of operational systems, update of databases. Sometimes it needed to be done due to maintenance reasons. The software you were running was going out of support and you needed to update it in order to really be up to date in terms of support. So next level for software obviously could mean not install it on premise, but use it out of the cloud. Software as a service. And all of a sudden it was possible to avoid all the things that I've just talked about, like release changes, hardware changes, new hardware, new software, new databases, new OS systems. Simply use the software out of the cloud. And Sally already mentioned that one of the use cases that I'm going to talk about deals with a cloud-based solution. Reducing the effort in IT. So when I said avoiding a problem of the future, one problem we all have in the future is limited resources in IT, or the battle for IT personnel, IT people. To avoid that, why not move the software into the cloud and have someone else doing the maintenance work and the operations work, and simply use the software, whatever it is designed for. Same with knowledge. We're talking about IDP, Intelligent Document Processing. Many of the sessions you see in the agenda deal with artificial intelligence. And there's one key issue in artificial intelligence that we should never forget. Artificial intelligence only works if it learns. And learning, training AI models means feeding data into AI models. And then we come to the key problem of any AI solution. You need a lot of training data, and no organization is typically capable of collecting that information on its own in the number we require to properly train an AI solution. So again, a next level in document processing could mean share your knowledge, benefit from the knowledge others have, and share the knowledge that you have in order to really bring AI solutions to a new level, to a next level. And that, of course, goes hand in hand with cloud-based solutions, because cloud-based AI solutions, they can really benefit from sharing knowledge, sharing training, sharing learning, sharing whatever has been given as input and training data into the solution. So sharing could be one key to reaching the next level. And a third very, very common and very general example, customer communication. Why not go digital with that? We receive invoices in the purchase to pay process via email. Why not communicate with the customer via email? We receive invoices through portals. Why not give feedback through portals? And there's a lot of potential to really move communication to that digital level. So these three examples, they are not the use cases, by the way, are just very, very simple examples that you probably have heard a million times already. What next level in intelligent document processing could mean. Let's now take a closer look into the use cases. And the way I've built that is I'm talking about a problem. I'm presenting you a solution, and I'm going to give you an idea what that impact, what the huge impact of the solution could mean. First example, unreadable documents. We all know that intelligent document processing has its limitations. There is always a lot of documents, we call that unclassified or unknown, because they have either not been trained into the solution, or Like here, it's pictures, it's drawings, it's we call that unreadable documents, not because they are not processable, but they are not readable because there is no text on the documents. So what we have experienced in the past is, in a lot of use cases, text-based documents can be processed, and the images and the pictures that have been added as supplementing documents, supporting documents, they were just added to the readable document, sort of as an attachment, an add-on, a supporting document. Just an example, let's say in financing, you want to buy a house and you need a credit from your bank. So you have to send some pictures to the bank, some drawings, some documentation that you have enough money to pay the loan back and all that. A lot of these documents that are sent in, they are nowadays processed as attachments or anything or other documents because they are not readable, and so IDP solutions cannot really classify them. The solution to that, and Sally has mentioned that because there's a customer success story added to this presentation, is something we call the cognitive classifier. Cognitive classification, it's an AI approach to training documents to a software. Cognitive classification does not only take into consideration the text on a document, but it also takes into account the visual impact of the document. So just a very, very simple example here. This ID card, we all would be able to identify that as an ID card. Not only because it clearly says in German ID card, Personalausweis, but also because it just looks as it looks. It's a typical ID card, and every human, even if I presented that on the screen right now, would say, yes, this is an ID card. A machine would have two challenges here. First, reading the text, because ID cards are designed to not being machine read properly. And second, there is not a lot of text on the document, but a lot of visual impression. And this is what I'm going to show you now. The text is important to understand an ID card, but also the way it looks. And this is the way it looks in black and white. This is another binarization. There's watermarks on the document, and there's a picture, there's an image of a person on the document. And if you train all these features, as we call it, into the machine, all these different ways to look at an ID card, then the software after the training is capable of saying, oh yeah, now I know it, it's an ID card. So what's the impact of that technology to IDP? We've done a couple of projects with that already. One of the success stories is added to this presentation. And we've done a comparison between what our standard IDP solution, SmartFix, is capable of doing and what it is capable of doing using the cognitive classifier. And you see the results here. The blue column is the classification rate of the software only using the text on the document. And obviously for cars, there is not a lot of text, so it's even a miracle that we are able to identify some car pictures, probably because of the license plate or a headline of a picture or something. But adding the cognitive classification to the classifier, to the machine learning model, we reach almost 100% correct classification based on the visual impact of these documents. And that's really a next level in classification of documents, because now we are able to also classify stuff that we just added as attachments to any document in the past. And this is a big step forward in automating picture-related processes also, because now financing or claims in insurance companies and even purchase-to-pay processes can even be further automated by using this classification technology. Second use case. And now I'm going back to the roots of intelligent document processing. Actually, it's called OCR. unreadable documents. We all know the limitations of IDP solutions and OCR in the past. All the vendors, including insiders, have always said, oh, handwriting is a big, big, big challenge, which in sales language means it's impossible. Also, difficult to read documents like this car certificate here, or a poorly scanned invoice. Actually, this gray, shadowy text is an invoice text here. Faxed documents, and the latest challenge in this world, pictures taken with mobile phone cameras that look like this one here. Folded, wrinkles, shadows, everything that is really causing a huge challenge for OCR. But the basis for everything we do in IDP is a readable text. And readable text means OCR is needed in order to generate a text out of a picture. And we all know most of what we see here in terms of these examples is pretty much unprocessable. The solution today is called deep learning-based OCR engines. And there's a couple in the market that are actually capable of doing that because they are just trained differently. They are trained based on natural language understanding. They have a language corpus incorporated. They are based on deep learning. And the result we see here is just the comparison between traditional OCR on the left and deep learning-based OCR on the right. So one big recommendation from our end to reach the next level is look at your OCR engine within your IDP solution and update that if possible. The savings possible with updating your OCR engine are tremendous. We've measured and we've seen like more than 30% benefit in terms of just getting more text compared to what you've gotten in the past, which means higher automation rates, higher classification rates, higher extraction rates, and as a result of that, less manual effort to type data into systems because the software can solve that for yourself. And as a conclusion, this brings me to use case number 3. And now I'm going to focus on the purchase to pay world because I know a lot of you guys listening are in touch with that world. Invoice processing, as it was called in the past, purchase to pay automation, as it is called nowadays. Along this process, the majority of our customers, as well as customers we know that don't work with our software, focus on invoices. But along the purchase to pay process, there is documents like the initial proposal or the quote, order confirmations once you've ordered based on a proposal, delivery notes when the service has been delivered or the product has been shipped, payment reminders because, again, we've paid too late, complaints because payments were not done in time, and a million other supporting documents, timesheets, shipment lists, text documents, anything. And traditionally, those documents were either not automatically processed or they were just attached to the invoice as a supporting document. So it's invoice and anything, but the anything, in fact, is a timesheet. And the two challenges we see with all these document types here is a lot of times they were not properly classified, and this is something we can solve with a cognitive classifier, or they were unreadable, and unreadable means improve your OCR. So doing use case number 1 and use case number 2 could enable you to reach use case number 3, really process everything that you receive along your purchase to pay process. And just as an example, what we do with our customers, we are able to process the initial offers. We can process the order confirmations. We are able to understand the delivery notes and, of course, the invoice and anything that is connected to that. Just a quick look at the use case, and we've presented that before, so I'm not going to dig deeper into that. The BASF success story that Sally has mentioned in her lovely introduction. It's also attached to the presentation, so you can have a look at it. The key takeaway of that success story is, yes, BASF is processing all these document types and many more, like you can see here, through all the different inbound channels and using the latest technology that I've just presented, because they are doing it in the cloud. And in the cloud means, even if you want to update the OCR, it's not your business anymore. It's our business, because we are hosting the cloud. And so we think we can improve our solution. We just change the OCR and you have no issue with that, except higher automation rates after we've done the update. No IT efforts on your end. It all happens in the cloud. And again, that's a good example of how to reach the next level. How's that working with insiders? We've called that cognitive process automation in the past, and you still find that on our website. This cognitive process automation is happening in the cognitive automation world of insiders. And the cognitive automation world basically brings two things. And maybe, again, this is the next level of what you can do. The most important and key thing that we are offering to the markets is our service ecosystem. Service ecosystem means you don't even have to care about training the software to process invoices, delivery notes, or order confirmations. We've already done that, and you can just connect to the cloud and consume the service that we are offering. And in case the service is not there, or it's not customized the way you want to use it, there is a service builder that is a configuration and implementation tool with which you can design the service to your own needs. So defining what you actually need to process. Maybe there's different types of documents that you want to process. Maybe there's different pieces of information that you want to extract. And then we deliver all the connectors and the tools and the infrastructure to really make AI work in the service ecosystem or within the service builder. That's all for today's presentation. Sally has already introduced us, so I'm not going to talk about insiders or myself anymore. We are an AI company. We are there for you. We're doing global projects. We're doing a lot of the things that you've seen in this presentation with customers. And now I think it's the point, Sally, to have a look at the questions. If there is any, I'm happy to answer them.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Christian. That was really practical and lots of good ideas on how we can implement IDP across the different shared service processes. So yes, it's question time to our audience. Please do submit your questions into the Q&A and we'll go to as many of those as possible. So first up, a question that's come in. So you mentioned that you can use IDP in customer interactions, but how do you ensure that the customer experience is still consistent during the change management process?
That's a very good question. Thank you. When I talked about the digital customer communication and customer interaction, let me give you one example. And again, that is coming from the purchase to pay process. Many invoices today are luckily submitted via email and not via paper anymore. There has been a change in Europe in legislation some years ago, I think it's 5, 6, 7 years now, that you are actually allowed to send an invoice as a PDF via email, not via paper mail. So doing that means if the customer has any question regarding, or if the supplier has any question regarding his invoice, he will most likely also send an email. Why not answer that email with an email? And why not use AI and IDP technology to also understand the question and maybe even send an automated answer? So the channel through which the supplier has contacted you doesn't change, and the gap in time gets minimal because he gets the response, let's say, within hours and not within days, because you have to do some research on the invoice first. That I would understand as consistent customer experience throughout the whole process.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. As long as we can provide a good goal, like a shorter time to answer and a consistent customer experience, then I suppose it doesn't matter which channel is being used to answer those queries. Now, a question that's come through from Paolo. Paolo asks, are you able to read and manage complex documents that are totally unstructured, like purchase contract or legal documents?
Sales answer, yes, of course. Honest answer, it depends on what you are expecting to happen with those documents. First of all, yes, we are able to read them and we are able to classify them. Let's say we are able to differentiate between an NDA, a license agreement, a SaaS agreement, a maintenance agreement, a service agreement, and all that stuff, general terms and conditions. We can differentiate all that. And then it really depends what pieces of information are expected to be generated out of these documents, like contracting parties, date of contract, termination clause, and things like that. Yes, that is possible to extract that out of a contract. The reason why I was differentiating between sales answer and honest answer is it really depends on how deep you want to dig into a contract, because there might be limitations in terms of really understanding legal language. I'm very convinced it is possible to train models to really understand the content of a contract, but that's a speciality that either needs a standard solution, and we don't have that yet, or an individual solution trained to your specific needs.
Brilliant. Thank you, Christian. Yeah, I hope that answers your question. Another question that's come through is, so in the last session, we did a poll on the top challenges people are facing when it comes to IDP, and the biggest one was ROI. Any kind of quick tips on quick wins or ways that we can definitely make sure that we get the ROI on the IDP investment?
Yeah, that's probably the question I have to answer most of the times in the sales pitch also. I constantly answer, well, the ROI needs to be calculated on your end, not on my end, but I can give some advice, of course. Luckily, solutions like these are pretty statistical and mathematical. That means you are able to predict or generate an automation rate within the process pretty easily. You look at the documents, you train them, and then you get feedback from the software. How high is the automation rate that the software thinks it can reach? And this you can calculate into a reduction of manual effort to type in the data, and that is the savings that you have. And then there's, on the other hand, there's the investment for the implementation of the software, for using the software, so the, let's say, the transactional fees in the cloud, or the purchasing cost of licenses and software maintenance. And so that's a pretty straightforward business case. You have an investment to do, and you can calculate that based on the quotes. You have savings that you expect and hopefully realize, and just find the right balance for it. And the ROI, depending on your requirements, should be typically less than 24 months. Basically, they are 12 months, because most of these solutions are based on transactions. So the larger the volume, the higher the price, the total price, but also the higher the savings. And so there is a business case for low volumes and for high volumes. And the math are pretty easy, savings compared to investment. And the savings are really savings in terms of reduction of manual effort to type in data.
Great. And I think we've just got time for one more question, just a short one. And that is, how long does it typically take to implement IDP?
My favorite answer is it really depends on what you want. Anything between a month and a year and 3 years. Really very heterogeneous answer. Straightforward purchase to pay implementation of invoice processing, probably 2 to 3 months maximum. A very complex IDP solution with a lot of different use cases, it can take years. Agility is the key, and again, that's the next level in project delivery, going from waterfall to agile. Do it step by step. Focus on the low-hanging fruits, and I mean, that's nothing revolutionary that I'm saying right now. Do the easiest things first, and go from there. Don't do everything at the same time. Just do it really step by step, use case by use case. Start with the platform, build the basis, and then put one use case after the other on top of the platform. And then implementation can be a very agile thing, like delivering a use case every month, every 2 months. But initially, I would say don't estimate anything below 3 months.
Yeah, sounds good. Brilliant. Well, sadly, that's all we've got time for, but thank you so much for joining us today, for delivering your presentation. There is a copy of the slides for the audience in the Resource Centre, along with those 2 case studies that I mentioned. And please do connect with Christian on LinkedIn and continue to chat about IDP. So we are going to take a short break right now. We will be back in 15 minutes for our 3rd session. That's focusing on shortlisting the right intelligent document processing solutions. And that's with Chris Eaton. Chris is the Assistant Vice President for Emerging Technology at Protective Life Insurance. They went through quite an intensive IDP selection process with their vendor. They chose one, and that was the wrong one, and then they chose another one. And he's going to talk you through the mistakes they made and how they came out the other side. So if you are looking at starting an IDP journey, it's really an unmissable session. So we'll see you again at 10:45 EST or 3:45 UK time. And thank you again to Christian for that fantastic presentation.
Thank you, Sally, and have a good presentation afterwards.